Life, Book 1 Vettavelli, Infinite Space and Indiran. K. Index Book 1. 1. Life 2. What do seers say? 3. Knowledge. 4. Experience 5. Effort 6. We are alienated from ourselves. 7. Thinking 8. Meditation 9. Be as you are 10. Peace 11. Happiness 12. Illusion 13. Daily life 14. The journey called life 15. Fallacies of hope 16. Organized truth 17. Be entertained 18. Identity 19. Harmony 20. Mass 21. Recognition 22. Society 23. Interpersonal relationship 24. Reasoning 25. Change. Book 226. Obsession. Life, Part 1. What is life? Consciousness is permanent. What one is always aware as one is conscious, actually one is consciousness. I am not in the sense of ego of I am this, or I am that, but just I am. This consciousness is always there, from the birth to death. Life, Part 2, May 18, 2013. 0 comments. What does the seer say? Truth does not require any authority. It is nothing but existence. But we seek authority, and refuse to believe the reality. So let us see what others say. Here I am not into semantics, but just into the gist of what others say. 1. Parabrahman, the Supreme Universal Self, the self-sufficient cause of all causes, the essence of everything in cosmos. Purna, wholeness. For more details please refer http://wiki.org/wiki/parabrahman. 2. Sunya, emptiness. Emptiness is not different from form and form is not different from emptiness. Buddha says he is nothing but pure consciousness. Neti, not this. For more details please refer to http://wiki.org/wiki/%c5% 9% c5% 81. 3. Zen understanding is that mind is unreliable. It changes throughout life, whereas no mind is always the same. Further reading please refer to Zen, published by Aquarian/Thorson's Eastern Wisdom Series. 4. Tao 30 spokes of the wheel join the hub, but what makes it roll is the emptiness between the wheel and the hub. So in principle realize Tao, which is emptiness. Further reading please refer to Tao, published by Aquarian/Thorson's Eastern Wisdom Series, and Living Wisdom of Tao by Dr. Wayne Dyer. 5. Who am I? Ramana Maharishi says, I am not sense organs, not vital airs, not the mind which thinks, and negating all of the above, that awareness which alone remains that I am. Further reading please refer to Who Am I? Nanyar, published by Sri Ramanashram. 6. It cannot be invited. That state of mind which is no longer capable of striving is the true religious mind, and in that state of mind you may come upon this thing called truth or reality or bliss or God or beauty or love. This thing cannot be invited. Please understand that very simple fact. It cannot be invited, it cannot be sought after, because the mind is too silly, too small, your emotions are too shoddy, your way of life too confused for that enormity, that immense something, to be invited into your little house, your little corner of living which has been trampled and spat upon. You cannot invite it. To invite it you must know it, and you cannot know it. It doesn't matter who says it. The moment he says, I know, he does not know. The moment you say you have found it, you have not found it. If you say you have experienced it, you have never experienced it. Freedom from the Known, page 122, J. Krishnamurti. 7. Vettavelli, expanse. In Tamil Siddha literature, liberation is referred to as Vettavelli or Irvelli or Pruvelli or Krakaduvelli. The ultimate reality is conceived by them as Vettavelli, which in ordinary language means that plain, clear or light space. Vettavelli stands for expanse, an ideal transcendental region. It stands for an infinite transcendental awareness. It is not our awareness but awareness of being itself. Please refer to Hindu Spirituality, Post-Classical and Modern, edited by K.R. Sundararajan, The Kamukayi, page 245. To be continued. Life, Part 3. I have earlier stated that truth does not require any authority. However, I have gone through the gist of some of the seers. Though I am not an expert in any field, further I will dedicate some more parts to see the theories so that we can understand the basics of what we normally call life, and leave it aside. First, let us look into knowledge in this part. Knowledge. Valid knowledge has an object and isn't contradicted. It has the knower or the subject, known thing, or the object, and the process of knowing. Consciousness limited by the mental state is knowledge. Knowledge has two forms, experience and recollection. Methods of knowledge are perception, inference, comparison, verbal testimony, presumption, and non-apprehension. We can spend many lifetimes arguing about the meanings and interpretations of this. I will not go into details, because that will defeat our whole purpose. What does the objects in contact with the knower, mind, do? They create pleasure, pain, aversion, knowledge, and effort. Effort is of three kinds: inclination, disinclination, and respiration. Effort, that sustains life. One more aspect of knowledge is illusion. Illudere in Latin means mock, deceive. Illusion can be twofold: 1. Apprehending a thing as other than what it is, like perceiving a rope as a snake. 2. Apprehending a thing as different from what it is, such as perceiving a white conch as yellow. Perception according to Vedanta is pure consciousness. For further reading, 1. Methods of Knowledge, Swami Satprakashananda, Advaita Ashrama. 2. Basaparakada by Visvanathanaya, Bankanana, translated by Swami Madhavananda, Advaita Ashrama. 3. Vedanta Paribhasa by Dharmaraja Advarendra, translated by Swami Madhavananda, Advaita Ashrama. 4. Nitya Sutras of Gautama, Mahopadhyaya Ganganathaha, Modalobanarsiddhas. If you are confused about the whole paragraph above, remember three words: knowledge plus experience plus effort. What does this knowledge do as experience and recollection? So we will look into experience in our next part. To be continued. Part 4, Experience. First, let us look into a couple of definitions of the word experience. The dictionary, Merriam-Webster, meaning of experience is a direct observation of or participation in events, as a basis of knowledge, be the fact or state of having been affected by or gained knowledge through direct observation or participation. The basic meaning is reception of the sensory data by the brain and storage in memory. Experience is defined as a more complex process. It is the critical assessment of reality by the subject through the movements of response, refraction, and critical reflection. A simpler meaning is experience, as a general concept, comprises knowledge of or skill of something, or some event gained through involvement in or exposure to that thing or event. So practically encounter an event, analyze it, record it in memory, and repeat it to gain pleasure, pain, or skill. This is good as far as the present goes. What about the past, the future? Like past is never experienced directly. It is a psychologically constructed state. Psychologically, what individuals believe happened in the past influences their present thoughts, feelings, and behavior more than what did happen. One good quote is, events in the past may be roughly divided into those which probably never happened, and those which do not matter. William Ralph Inso experiences an event which is stored in memory. Refer 1. Experience of God, An Invitation to Do Theology by Dermatale 2. httpn.wikipedia.org/wiki/experience3. Time Paradox, Philip Zimbardo. We will see about effort in our next chapter. To be continued. Top of form, bottom of form. Life, Part 5. Effort. Meaning of the word effort from Merriam-Webster Dictionary is 1. Conscious exertion of power, hard work, a job requiring time and effort greater than 2. A serious attempt, try making an effort to reduce costs greater than 3. Something produced by exertion or trying. The novel was her most ambitious effort. Effort is involved in 1. Choice. 2. Motivation. 3. Inhibition. 4. Regulation of rewards. 5. Self-binding behaviors. 6. Limiting the breakdown of organizational action. What is right effort? Simply the effort to be mindful, to remember in the present moment what is happening, without judging it. In Zen it is called effortless effort. In effort there is involved an idea and action, and the problem of how to bridge the idea and action. All effort implies idea and action, and the coming together of these two. J.K. Krishnamurti's view explains effort very clearly. So there is an idea and action, which means there is space and time between the idea and action. Time is a period during which something exists, or continues, an interval comprising a limited and continuous action. Psychologically, space is the interval between two events. Here time and space are correlated, but it is not the same. We will continue our discussion about life in our next chapter. To be continued. 1. Effort, a behavioral neuroscience perspective on the will by J. Shulkin. 2. Krishnamurti on Education by Krishnamurti. 3. Living Buddhist Masters by Jack Kornfield. 4. The Concept of Time in Psychology, a resource book and annotated bibliography by Johnny Recchi. Line 5. Philosophy of Physics, Space, and Time by Tim Wadlin. Top of Form. Life, Part 6. We are alienated from ourselves. We have seen in the first 2 chapters that we are nothing but consciousness. In the succeeding chapters we have discussed the theories of life which has affected us. What is that we generally call as life? What is our idea of life, as we live? Is it not series of what we call experiences which we call as life? Are we not trying to be somebody in society? We are putting effort to reach the goal which is in future. What is the substratum on which the knowledge, effort, and experience exist? All this is sustained by only one thing. What is it that is standing between us and the peace, bliss, or whatever we call it? It is only one thing: thought. I will again 2 stories which are often repeated by many. 1. The salt dove which went to the ocean could neither measure the depth nor experience the ocean, because it melted to become one with ocean. 2. What prevents us from melting away into the ocean of consciousness? It is the thought which acts as a weatherproof coat to keep thee apart from the ocean. 2. The pot which is in a pond contains water. What is that which separates the water in the pond from that in the pot? It is the shell. Let us break the shell of thought and be merged with consciousness. Thought is merely a tool to be used for our daily activities. At psychological level it has limited value. Here I am quoting result of a formal study. We do not make someone expert through training in formal methods of analysis. Quite the contrary is true. In fact, we run the risk of slowing the development of skills. 1. The brain-damaged subjects lacked intuition, an emotional reaction to anticipated consequences to good and bad decisions. 1. Intuition depends on the use of experience to recognize key patterns that indicate the dynamics of the situation. 1. You are aware that intuition is not thought and thought prevents intuition. We will continue our discussion further. For further reading. 1. Sources of Power, How People Make Decisions by Gary Klein. The MIT Press. 2. Maharishi's Gospel. Sri Ramanasramam, page 8. Life, Part 7. Thinking. Thought or thinking generally refers to any mental or intellectual activity involving an individual's subjective consciousness. 2. Thinking is the systematic transformation of mental representations of knowledge to characterize the actual or possible states of the world, often in service of goals. 1. Thinking is directed towards achieving some desired state of affairs, some goal that motivates the thinker to achieve some results. 1. The simplest definition, though I have taken out of context, and though it does not define it clearly, states what thinking is. Content is thinking. Thinking is content. 3. Idea is the object of thinking. 4. Much of our thinking left to itself is biased, distorted, partial, uninformed, or downright prejudiced. Yet the quality of our life, and what we produce, make, or build depends precisely on the quality of our thought. 5. The above 2 statements, 4 and 5, will clearly tell you why our life is in shambles. We call experience as our life, which is nothing but thoughts. Thinking is the basis of our day-to-day life, but our thinking is quite limited and distorted, and so is our life. Further, to understand the limitations of thinking, in Malcolm Gladwell's book Blink, read the story of the statue did not look right. when an old statue was brought to the museum to be sold. Though the records and statue proved to be old, some experts felt that the statue did not look right. It was found that the statue was found to be a fake after 18 months of research. Instinct told it in the first place, when knowledge could not do that. 6. What is thought made of? Thought is matter, probably measurable. And it comes from the accumulated memory, which is matter, stored in the brain. Thought has its origin in the past, recent or remote. Can one be aware of thought as it arises out of the past, the recollections of the past, the action of the past? 7. So now we are aware that the thinking is the culprit. It has helped our physical world greatly, but has muddied our psychological life. So what next? Like Lao Tzu said, a 1,000-kilometer journey starts with the first step. We have started our journey. Let us continue our discussions. For further reference. 1. The Cambridge Handbook of Thinking and Reasoning, edited by Keith James Holyoake, Robert G. Morrison, Jr. 2. http://wiki.org/wiki/portal-thinking. 3. http://pages/content-thinking-contents/958. 4. The Neurology of Thinking by David Frank Benson. 5. The Miniature Guide to Critical Thinking, Concepts and Tools by Richard Paul, Linda Elder. 6. Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. 7. 8 Conversations, J. Krishnamurti, page 19. To be continued. Life Part 8, Meditation. We have seen that thought is standing between us and the pure consciousness. Thought is a good tool for our day-to-day living, but it is not good enough for our psychological life. On the other hand, it is detrimental to our psychological life. So we are stuck up now. If we have gone through the earlier chapters and understood them, and we have done away with knowledge, effort, and thinking, we are left with nothing to hang on. Is meditation an option? If it is so, then what is meditation? Let us look into that. We have traditionally believed that mind control is called as meditation. We assume that there is something recognizable called mind is there, and there is someone to control it. So the traditional approach starts with practice and dispassion, abhyasa and vairagya. So first is to have willpower and strengthen the willpower. That is one part of your mind controlling and subjugating the other part, which is a conflict. So only thing you can end up with is mental tiredness, which may feel like calmness. So control of mind is not an option. Mind is nothing but thoughts which over a period of time has created a self-image and has given itself a name. Mind is like a white cloth returned from the laundry. It will be red if you dip it in red dye, and blue if you dip it in blue dye. It will have whatever color you dip it in. 1. Success in meditation is related to peaceful living. For meditation to be fruitful, the mind must be calm, and if the mind is to be calm, we must conduct our normal life and activities in a peaceful way. 2. So be aware of your thoughts instead of controlling them. When you are aware of your thoughts, you will understand the limitations of thought in the psychological level, and it will slowly drop off, and hence the conflicts. Any attempt to control or divert will only strengthen thoughts, and i.e., the mind, which is most obvious. Creating the so-called good thoughts, or controlling thoughts, is not going to weaken thinking, but strengthen it. But awareness of the thoughts and its limitations will dissipate the thoughts. I am neither the body nor the mind. I am the infinite universal principle. I have no friend or foe. I have no pleasure or pain. I am absolute, changeless, deathless, eternal and infinite truth. I am all the pair of opposites. Nothing can touch me, nothing else exists. I am the all. All is in me, I am that. I am that too. This is the meditation. The above paragraph expounds the whole truth. We will go into what this little I is in our next discussion. For further reference, 1. The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna by M. translated by Nikhilananda, Sri Ramakrishna Math, Kanai. 2. Meditation, Monks of Ramakrishna Order, Sri Ramakrishna Math, Kanai. We will continue, Life Part 9, the I, Self, and Ego. We will look into what is this I. When Sri Ramana Maharishi uses the word self, he talks in the sense of consciousness, soul, Atman, or whatever you name it, and not the ego. Whereas J. Krishnamurti uses the word self in the sense of ego. So while reading, please note the difference. I have widely quoted Sri Ramana Maharishi because his words are direct and simple. But truth is not limited to any individual, religion, or geography. Self as soul, after long searches here and there, in temples and churches, in earths and heavens, at last you come back, completing the circle from where you started, to your own soul, and find that He, for whom you have been seeking all over the world, on whom you are looking, as the mystery of all mysteries shrouded in the clouds, is nearest of the near, is your own self, the reality of your life, body, and soul. Swami Vivekananda. That is the fact of life. Even if you have spent years in isolation, done penances, wandered all over the world, spent years in silence or meditation, ultimately you will have to come back to where you started. That is yourself. Self is not far, it is near to you. What remains unchanged in an individual as subject is the self. Every aspect of individual as object that changes now or later is not self. 1. Self is unchanging. That which rises in the body as I is the mind. Apart from thoughts there is no such thing as mind. The mind exists only in dependence upon something gross, it cannot stay alone. 2. Self is not the mind. Realization can only be an end of the self. It can never be apart from the self. 3. The self is not reached, you are the self. You are already that. When the not-self disappears, the self alone remains. 3. You are the self. Self as ego. The self is a problem that thought cannot resolve. There must be an awareness which is not of thought. To be aware, without condemnation or justification, of the activities of the self, just to be aware, is sufficient. If you are aware in order to find out how to resolve the problem, in order to transform it, in order to produce a result, then it is still within the field of the self, of the me. So long as we are seeking a result, whether through analysis, through awareness, through constant examination of every thought, we are still within the field of thought, which is within the field of the me, of the I, of the ego. 4. Do we know what we mean by the self? By that, I mean the idea, the memory, the conclusion, the experience, the various forms of nameable and unnameable intentions, the conscious endeavor, to be or not to be, the accumulated memory of the unconscious, the striving. After all, this is the self. The self is dividing, the self is self-enclosing, its activities, however noble, are separative and isolating. 4. Reality, truth, is not to be recognized. For truth to come, belief, knowledge, experiencing, virtue, pursuit of virtue, which is different from being virtuous, all this must go. 5. The me can never become a better me, as we were saying, there is no psychological evolution. The psyche can never become, or grow into something which it is not. Conceit and arrogance cannot grow into better and more conceit, nor can selfishness, which is the common lot of all human beings, become more and more selfish, more and more of its own nature. This movement from "what is" to "what should be" as an illusion, is really, if one can use the word, a lie. The nature and the structure of the psyche, the ego. The "me", the "me" can never become a better me. It will attempt to, it thinks it can, but the "me" remains in subtle forms. The self hides in many garments, in many structures. It varies from time to time, but there is always the self, the separative, self-centered activity which imagines that one day it will make itself something which it is not. 6. So we have to understand one thing: whatever gimmick we do, or however sophisticated we become, the ego remains as it is. So there is no other go but to drop it. How do we do it? The only way is to be aware of our thinking. We have already seen the futility of knowledge, effort, and thinking. In the psychological level, now we have lost the I sense also. What are we going to do with our life? We will look at that in our next discussion. Further reading. 1. Self and Identity in Modern Psychology and Indian Thought by A.C. Paranj. 2. Who Am I? Ramana Maharishi. Translation by Dr. Mahadavan. Sri Ramanasramam. 3. Maharishi's Gospel. Sri Ramanasramam. 4. What are you doing with your life? J. Krishnamurti. 5. The Book of Life. J. Krishnamurti. 6. Krishnamurti to himself. Ojai, California, Thursday, the 17th of March, 1983. To be continued. Life, Part 10. Be as you are. If we have completely understood our discussions, then we have nothing to hold on, none where to go. Then what do we do? Let us not make a belief out of what we have understood. That is of no use, because life is dynamic, ever-changing. The following Zen story explains that. Finding a piece of the truth one day, Mara, the evil one, was traveling through the villages of India with his attendants. He saw a man doing walking meditation, whose face was lit upon wonder. The man had just discovered something on the ground in front of him. Mara's attendant asked what that was, and Mara replied, "A piece of truth. Doesn't this bother you when someone finds a piece of truth, O evil one?" His attendant asked. "No," Mara replied. Right after this, they usually make a belief out of it. 1. Moral of the story: if we find truth instead of understanding it, we make a belief out of it, build institutions, begin worship, and fight for power or prominence within that institution. This is the ego which acts on, and once again we begin the cycle of conflict and chaos. Be as you are psychologically without effort is widely told in Zen. In Tamil the Siddhas have told this as Soma Iratal. Soma Iratal means being without any activity, not physical, but psychological. Physically all these people were active. Laziness will not help in any way realization, and in no way the be as you are or Soma Iratal means laziness. Sri Ramana Maharishi practiced silence as the way of imparting grace for many years. A devotee may attain liberation by being in the supreme state of quietude. That is to say, being in the state of quietude, bereft of one's ignorant egoism, enables a devotee to obtain the state of eternal bliss. Tirumatiran -1579-2. But what would happen if we gave up the goal? What would a journey without a goal be like? You move with the flow of water, with the change in landscape. You just want to be present in your journey, be compassionate with each step, have fun each moment along the way. The destination becomes irrelevant. No destination or goal matters if they are all good. Each step along the way, then, becomes the destination, and is exactly where you should be. 3. Zen masters say don't seek truth, just drop your opinions, sit in quietly, doing nothing. Spring comes, and the grass grows by itself. 4. We will see a Zen story. A cup of tea in a Japanese master, during the Meiji era, 1868 to 1912, received a university professor, who came to inquire about Zen. Nanin served tea. He poured his visitor's cupful, and then kept on pouring. The professor watched the overflow, until he no longer could restrain himself. It is overfull. No more will go in. Like this cup, Nanin said, you are full of your own opinions and speculations. How can I show you Zen unless you first empty your cup? 5. Let us empty our minds of all opinions, memories, and be, as we are, the infinite consciousness. There is no seeing. Seeing is only being. The state of self-realization, as we call it, is not attaining something new, or reaching some goal which is far away, but simply being that which you always are, and which you always have been. All that is needed is that you give up the identification of the not true as true. 6. This is the ultimate truth, there is nothing more than this. For further references, 1. http://the-very-best-zen-stories/2. http://articles/chummy.html3. http://zenhabits.net/journey/4. The Way of Zen, Zenrinkusha 5. http://101zenstories.com/6. Be as you are, the teachings of Ramana Maharishi, David Godman. Life, Part 11, Peace. Peace is a state of harmony characterized by the lack of violence, conflict behaviors, and the freedom from fear of violence, commonly understood as the absence of hostility. Chinese proverb: when there is peace in the heart, there is peace in the world. 1. Peace will come in the world only when you yourself are peaceful, when you yourself are at peace with your neighbor. 3. We do not see peace around us because we are not in peace with ourselves. We have built up images of ourselves which are different from the actuality. The images of what we want to be known by others, seen by others. So the conflict builds up internally, and results in violence. Another Chinese proverb says this: tension is what you think you should be and relaxation is who you are. 1. So what are we to? To repeat some words or activity. Repetition continuously only leads us to psychological disorder. We may end up having OCD. What is OCD? Obsessive-compulsive disorder. OCD is a treatable neurobiological anxiety disorder characterized by recurrent, unwanted thoughts, obsessions, and repetitive behaviors, compulsions/rituals, such as counting, checking, praying, and cleaning that are performed in an effort to relieve the anxiety caused by the obsessions. 2. So we do not want any repetitive acts, so how are we to have peace? The conflict is there because of the reality of what is and the ideal of what should be. Sri Ramana says, your duty is to be, and not to be this, or that. 4. Here I am is the reality, and I am this, or that, or whatever is what we feel we should be. The manner of our life, the way of our conduct, the nature of our daily activities, will spontaneously bring about peace, if we want peace. But I am afraid very few of us want peace, and when we do want peace, what we really want is security, comfort, a state of not being disturbed at all. 5. So the only thing we can do to find peace is to be ourselves, i.e., being consciousness. Reference 1. Quiet Mind, Fearless Heart by Brian Luxeyward. 2. http www.perishoffmind.com/3. The First and Last Freedom. 185, J. Krishnamurti. 4. Maharishi's Gospel, Sri Ramanasramam. 5. Talks by Krishnamurti in Europe 1965, Authentic Report, Paris Saunan. Life, Part 12. Happiness. Happiness is a mental or emotional state of well-being characterized by positive or pleasant emotions ranging from contentment to intense joy. Wikipedia. In this part I am not going to harangue you with theories, but quote 2 Zen stories. Each to his own destiny. A samurai, who was known for his nobility and honesty, went to visit a Zen monk to ask advice. However, the moment he entered the temple, where the master was praying, he felt inferior, and concluded that, in spite of having fought for justice and peace all his life, he hadn't even come near the state of grace achieved by the man before him. Why do I feel so inferior? He asked, as soon as the monk finished his prayers. I have faced death many times, have defended those who are weak. I know I have nothing to be ashamed of. Nevertheless, upon seeing you meditating, I felt that my life had absolutely no importance whatsoever. Wait. Once I have attended to all those who come to see me today, I shall answer you. The samurai spent the whole day sitting in the temple gardens, watching the people go in and out in search of advice. He saw how the monk received them all with the same patience and the same illuminated smile on his face. But his enthusiasm soon began to wane, since he had been born to act and not to wait. At nightfall, when everyone had gone, he demanded, "Now can you teach me?" The master invited him in and led him to his room. The full moon shone in the sky, and the atmosphere was one of profound tranquility. Do you see the moon, how beautiful it is? It will cross the entire firmament, and tomorrow the sun will shine once again. But sunlight is much brighter, and can show the details of the landscape around us, trees, mountains, clouds. I have contemplated the two for years, and have never heard the moon say, "Why do I not shine like the sun? Is it because I am inferior?" "Of course not," answered the samurai. "The moon and the sun are different things, each has its own beauty. You cannot compare the two. So you know the answer. We are two different people, each fighting in his own way for that which he believes, and making it possible to make the world a better place. The rest are mere appearances." 1. The search for happiness has been the motive behind man's all efforts. The majority of mankind is satisfied with gratification of senses. 4. The search for happiness. A Zen story. A Zen master and his followers were returning to their village from a day walking in the forest, when they came across an old woman in the road crawling on her hands and knees. "What are you doing?" they asked. "Looking for a needle that I dropped," she replied. "There are many of us, maybe we can help you find it before the light fades," one of them offered. "Can you tell me exactly where you lost it, and we can start looking there?" "Oh, I was hoping you wouldn't ask that. replied the old woman, because, to be honest, I lost it inside my house. Then why on earth are you searching out here in the road? A follower asked in amazement. Well, it is too dark to see inside my house, so I will never find it there. At least outside I can't see well enough to look for it. The followers were stunned. They had always thought the old woman a little strange, and this just proved it beyond all doubt. They chuckled to themselves at the stupidity of what they had just heard as they carried on walking towards their village. But before long their master stopped them. You laugh at her, but don't you see that is exactly what you are doing, he said. You spend your lives seeking happiness on the outside, in possessions, in activities, in others. Sometimes you may think you have found it, only to see it quickly flow away, like water through your fingers. But in your craziness you just carry on searching outside. That is not where you lost it, so you will never find it there. You too must look inside for happiness, because that is where you lost it. Your happiness is inside you. It is not lost either, only waiting within to be discovered. Claim it now, and choose to be happy. It is always a choice. 2. Sat Chidana and Sat, existence Chid, knowledge, intelligence, Anand, bliss. References 1. http://engl/edi30tuas.html, Paulo Coelho 2. http://inspiritcoaching.co.uk/blog/p=421-3. http://deliveringhappinesss.com/4. http://studentedavadantu.net/mshapin.pdf-live. Part 13 Illusion. An illusion is a distortion of the senses, revealing how the brain normally organizes and interprets sensory stimulation. While illusions distort reality, they are generally shared by most people. 1. About life spiritually, there are two extreme views. Everything in this world is real, and for salvation you have to move from here to somewhere else. The other point of view is that this whole world is an illusion and reality is here and now once you are aware of the illusion. We are in a predicament. Everyday life is real to us. We are alive, we go to work, earn money, have family, and we have pain and pleasure. So what is true? There is a Zen story. Nothing exists. Yamaoka Desha, as a young student of Zen, visited one master after another. He called upon Dokuon of Shokoku. Desiring to show his attainment, he said, the mind, Buddha, and sentient beings, after all, do not exist. The true nature of phenomena is emptiness. There is no realization, no delusion, no sage, no mediocrity. There is no giving and nothing to be received. Dokuon, who was smoking quietly, said nothing. Suddenly he whacked Yamaoka with his bamboo pipe. This made the youth quite angry. If nothing exists, inquired Dokuon, where did this anger come from? 2. That is the reality. The world, as we see it, is in a way real. Advaita finds it in different way as per Hindu Advaita philosophy. Illusion is something which is not true, and not false. Whereas in general usage it is common to assume that illusion is false, Hindu philosophy makes a distinction between Maya, illusion, and falsehood. In terms of this philosophy, Maya is true in itself, but it is not true in comparison with the truth. 1. Like all monisms, Vedanta posits a distinction between the relatively and the absolutely real, and a theory of illusion to explain their paradoxical relationship. Their apparent separation is an illusory fissure deriving from ignorance and maintained by superimposition. 4. The Hinduism says, we are all aware that the dreams are real in the dream state, until you wake up. Same way whatever is happening now looks real in the waking state. But only the underlying consciousness of all the three states, of waking, sleep and dream alone is real. Ramana Maharishi explains this. There is only one state, that of consciousness or awareness or existence. The three states of waking, dream and sleep cannot be real. They simply come and go. The real will always exist. The _IR existence, that alone persists in all the three states is real. 3. Reference 1. http://wikipedia.org/wiki/illusion2 http://www.mirkatham.com/the-and-very-best-zen-stories/3 Be as you are. Sri Ramana Maharishi 4. http://documents/oldmeadow/sankara.pdf. Life, Part 14. Daily life. We have understood the whole basis of life, but still the day-to-day life is confronting us as what we have learned some theory which is different from our day-to-day living. If we consider what we have learnt as some theory which has to be worshipped at specific hours, and what we are living as based on different principles, then we are at confrontation, and that is of no help to us. What do the seers say? Vedanta does not say that one should detest the world, or isolate oneself in some world other than this. It does not proclaim that anyone should forsake his duties, or put on castor oil face, or behave in an intolerable manner. The truth of existence is one and indivisible, that division or separation, hatred, enmity, quarrel, and selfishness are against the eternal truth. It is not a question of abandoning something, or holding on to something, but of a change in the drishti, or the vision of life. It is a change in the way of the function of the consciousness that is required by the Vedanta. The body will be there, its activities will be there, but these will be transformed into the liberated life, Jivanmukti, by the touch of the philosopher's stone of the knowledge of the self. This life of self-knowledge is life at its highest and the best. This is the most blessed state, the state of freedom. 1. We all know that we cannot avoid bodily functions or the daily life. Then how are we to function without attachment? The only ways to see things we encounter in our life are transient. Read the following story on this. Transient, a famous spiritual teacher, came to the front door of the king's palace. None of the guards tried to stop him as he entered, and made his way to where the king himself was sitting on his throne. "What do you want?" asked the king, immediately recognizing the visitor. "I would like a place to sleep in this inn," replied the teacher. "But this is not an inn," said the king. "It is my palace." "May I ask who owned this palace before you?" "My father." "He is dead." "And who owned it before him?" "My grandfather." "He too is dead." "And this place where people live for a short time and then move on, did I hear you say that it is not an inn?" Now we are without attachments till the external circumstances are not under our control. They pose difficult situations for us. How to face that? The only way is to along with life on the things we cannot change. Read the following Tao story on going along with the flow. Going with the flow. A Taoist story tells of an old man who accidentally fell into the river rapids leading to a high and dangerous waterfall. Onlookers feared for his life. Miraculously, he came out alive and unharmed downstream at the bottom of the falls. People asked him how he managed to survive. "I accommodated myself to the water, not the water to me without thinking. I allowed myself to be shaped by it. Plunging into the swirl, I came out with the swirl. This is how I survived." Life is not something apart from us. We are not in confrontation with life. It is not something to be fought and won. It is not a problem to be solved. Life is to be lived. Enjoy every moment of your life. Live your life. Life will have ups and downs. You will be like a catamaran tossed up and down by the waves. But this is applicable for the external lives of even great seers. Only their mind or consciousness was unwavering and stable. If you enjoy every moment of your life, then your mind also will be stable. Only small and ordinary things in life are enjoyable. Don't wait for some miracle to happen. That may never come. I will end this part with another story. The real miracle: when Banki was preaching at Ryaman Temple, a Shinshi priest who believed in salvation through repetition of the name of the Buddha of love was jealous of his large audience and wanted to debate with him. Banki was in the midst of a talk when the priest appeared, but the fellow made such a disturbance that Banki stopped his discourse and asked about the noise. The founder of our sect boasted the priest had such miraculous powers that he held a brush in his hand on one bank of the river, his attendant held up a paper on the other bank, and the teacher wrote the holy name of Amida through the air. "Can you do such a wonderful thing?" Banki replied lightly, "Perhaps your fox can perform that trick, but that is not the manner of Zen. My miracle is that when I feel hungry I eat, and when I feel thirsty I drink." No one can escape the reality of life, however great he may be. Enjoy your life. Reference 1. http://www.savanandaonline.org/published/cmd=display section end section it equals 827. Life, Part 15. The journey called life is our life, a journey between birth and death, with maximum collection of experiences as the goal. Hinduism divides life into 4 stages which most of you may know. 1. Student life, bachelor life. 2. Married life, householder's life. 3. Forest dweller or hermit, detached life. 4. Ascetic stage, renounced. Each stage is having duration of 25 years. Each period has definitive goals. There are defined 3 paths to salvation: work, devotion, and knowledge, karma, bhakti, and jnana. Everything is so defined, and we only have to walk in the set path and reach the goal of what normally called as salvation. But does this happen? Never. We all know that. Read the trailing paragraph that will sound like our voice. The reality: human society has been around for tens of thousands of years. More than 1,000 generations of humans have walked the earth. About 110 billion humans have existed throughout history. Of those, very few have left traces of their existence, apart from a few bones maybe. You are a fellow traveler on this journey called life. Like me, you have read all the books, including The Secret, The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, Who Moved My Cheese, you name it. You have attended countless seminars. Yet, you have not achieved the results you desire. You had hoped to get to the promised land through those books or seminars, yet they were not the ticket. I did attend MRXXXXXX Firewalk seminar. I walked over burning coals. Now, I thought, life will finally give me all that I've been hoping for. No, not really. Where did I end up after walking on fire? Simply at the other side, which looked just like the place where I started. 1. So with little common sense we can understand that what is important is not the imagined goal, but the reality of the journey of life, which is every day, every minute, and every second. The goal is not some imagined utopia or different experience, but the reality of consciousness. Realization is not at the end, but it is our own self or consciousness which is the very beginning. Life is a continuous flow. It is not compartmentalized into 3 or 4 stages. Realization is not through a method. It does not involve time that is wise and talks about a moment or a word. Read what Ramana Maharishi says: our real nature is mukti. But we are imagining we are bound, and are making various strenuous attempts to become free, while we are all the while free. This will be understood only when we reach that stage. We will be surprised that we were frantically trying to obtain something which we have always been, and are, knowing the self is being the self, and being means existence, one's own existence, too. What is told by Ramana Maharishi above is the plain truth. If that is not clear to you, read the following story. A single breath. The Buddha asked a Shramana monastic, how long is the human lifespan? He replied, a few days. The Buddha said, you have not yet understood the way. He asked another Shramana, how long is the human lifespan? The reply was, the space of a meal. The Buddha said, you have not yet understood the way. He asked another Shramana, how long is the human lifespan? He replied, the length of a single breath. The Buddha said, excellent. You have understood the way. The Buddha. Section 38 of the Sutra, in 42 sections, 3. Live the moments and understand that you are consciousness itself, and nothing more. Reference 1. http://journeycalledlife.org/forward.html12. Be as you are, the teachings of Sri Ramana Maharishi 3. http://enlightenment.com/2012/01/a-breath/. Life Part 16. Fallacies of Hope. Definition of hope. Hope is the feeling that what is wanted can be had, or that events will turn out for the best, or the act of looking forward to something with desire and reasonable confidence, or feeling that something desired may happen. Other definitions are to cherish a desire with anticipation, to desire with expectation of obtainment, or to expect with confidence. 1. There are people and organizations who believe in hope. They think hope is a blessing. They have come up with correlational evidences, and also they quote the story of Pandora's box. We all think hope is important. Every religion, positive thinking specialists, medical practitioners, everyone wants you to have hope. Hope is when we say, now things are bad, and in future things are going to be better. That future is merely our imagination with no basis. It is just a projection of the opposite of present. Psychological time implies hope. The world is mad. Let us hope in the future there will be a sane world. What shall I do if I have no hope? Hope is so important, because it gives you satisfaction, energy, drive to achieve something too. We refuse to understand and resolve the problems at present, but we hope that the problems will disappear in future. Why is hope so important in our life? It is only as long as I do not understand how to bring about the dissolution of a particular problem that I depend on a myth, on an idea of hope. If you observe your own mind, you will see that when you are in discomfort, in conflict, in misery, your mind seeks a way away from it. The process of going away from the problem is the creation of hope. If I can understand the problem, then hope is not necessary. 3. So if you can't solve your problems here and now, then there is no requirement of hope. Hope has no validity. We will end this with a mullah story. Complete faith. There was a heavy draft in the village, and the villagers decided to go to Mullah Nasruddin and ask him to pray for rain. They went to him and told him their request. Mullah was angry and told them that he is not going to pray for the people who don't believe him. People were surprised and told him that since they had faith in him only, they had all gathered together and come to him for requesting to pray. They asked him, why you are blaming us that we are faithless? Mullah told them, you are all liars. If you had really believed me, you all would have come with an umbrella. Reference 1. httpn.wikipedia.org/wiki/hope 2. Wholeness of life, J. Krishnamurti 3. Total freedom, J. Krishnamurti 4. The psychology of hope, you can get there from here. 5. The Psychology of Hope, Strengths Academy. Life, Part 17. Organized truth. We always prefer authority to guide us. That way it is easy. The responsibility is with someone else. Also in that way we will have a group we can depend on for our comfort, share our sadness or happiness. The group with its leader tells us what is right and what is wrong, what is truth and what is untruth. Tribalism implies the possession of a strong cultural or ethnic identity that separates one member of a group from the members of another group. It is a precondition for members of a tribe to possess a strong feeling of identity. For a true tribal society, in terms of conformity, tribalism may also refer to a way of thinking or behaving in which people are more loyal to their tribe. The loyalty of the group helps us to move up the ladder. Maybe one day we can become the leader. The group gives the psychological protection. This is not a new phenomenon. People have survived with this tribal instinct for generations. So human minds have been selected for between 2,000 and 10,000 generations in social environments, in which the innate willingness to recognize, aid, and if necessary, punish fellow group members was favored by ordinary natural selection. But is your life to be lived as per the organization's rulebook? Does the organization tell you what is truth and what isn't truth? One is afraid to think apart from what has been said by the leaders because one might lose one's job, be ostracized, excommunicated. We submit to authority because all of us have this inward demand to be safe, this urge to be secure. So long as we want to be secure in our possessions, in our power, in our thoughts, we must have authority. We must be followers, and in that lies the seed of evil, for it invariably leads to the exploitation of man by man. The man who is ceaselessly questioning, who has no authority, who does not follow any tradition, any book or teacher, becomes a light unto himself. J.K. If your organization says they have long history, do they know what history it is? Is Indians Aryans or Dravidians, or both? Did they belong to this land or migrate from somewhere else? Did they come from Russia, Volga, to India, Ganges, or Samaria, Iran/Iraq, Euphrates, and Tigris, to India, Ganges? About the past there are several interpretations. Each person or group looks into history as per their viewpoints and convenience. No one will ever know what really the truth is. The Sumerian story of Gilgamesh and Enkidu sound like scriptures of many religions in the world. There are many who believe that this story is the mother of many religious scriptures of the world. Gilgamesh, king in UK. I will proclaim to the world the deeds of Gilgamesh. This was the man to whom all things were known. This was the king who knew the countries of the world. Again Gilgamesh said, speaking, O Father Utnapishtim, you who have entered the assembly of the gods, I wish to question you concerning the living and the dead. How shall I find the life for which I am searching? Utnapishtim said, there is no permanence. Do we build a house to stand forever? Do we seal a contract to hold for all time? Do brothers divide an inheritance to keep forever? Does the flood time of rivers endure? The sleeping and the dead, how alike they are. They are like a painted death. This story is written nearly 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, but has lot of resemblance to many of our later scriptures around the world. So what is the truth? No one knows for sure about past, so the organized truth which depends solely on the past has no value. History is always interpreted and changed according to those who are in power at that time. So what you believe as truth is shaped and changed by many to suit their convenience, and for gaining money and power. The past is stripped out from you. The great seer said, no one sews a patch of unshrunk cloth on an old garment, for the patch will pull away from the garment, making the tear worse. You don't know the future, so you are left with only present, the truth. The present cannot be an organized present. It is what it is. It is the consciousness. Reference 1. http://wikipedia.org/wiki/tribalism2. Hamburg Talk to J. Krishnamurti. http://www.krishnamurti.org/krishnamurti-teachings/daily-quote-archive.php. 3. http://www.des.davis.edu/faculty/richardson/comgroups.pdf4. http://www.seekeraftertruth.com/5. http://www.aina.org/books.html6. From Volga to Ganga, Brahal Sankritiyan. 7. Kumari Kandama, Sumeriyama, P. Prabhakaran. 8. http://wikipedia.org/wiki/epic of Gilgamesh 9. http://www.ancienttexts.org/library/mesopotamian/Gilgamesh/. Life, Part 18, Be entertained. We all want to be entertained. What is entertainment? Entertainment is something that holds the attention and interest of an audience, or gives pleasure and delight. Strongly associated with amusement, the idea is fun and laughter. One more thing about entertainment is, people who love entertainment are less interested in critical thinking. Also interestingly, Brock and Livingston found an inverse relationship between the need to be entertained and the need for cognition, a measure of how much people like active problem solving and critical thinking. Again, the more you think, the less reliant you are on TV. If entertainment is not good for us, why do we all want entertainment? We want to escape from the present reality. The present poses real problems which have to be answered. We want to escape from that, forget that, and live in a fancy world offered by entertainment. The young people, the students, the children, are constantly instigated to pleasure, to fancy, to romantic sensuality. The words restraint and austerity are pushed away, never even given a thought. You have been brought up from childhood to amuse yourself, and escape from yourself through entertainment, religious or otherwise, and when most of the psychologists say that you must express everything you feel, and that any form of holding back or restraint is detrimental, leading to various forms of neuroticism, you naturally enter more and more into the world of sport, amusement, entertainment, all helping you to escape from yourself, from what you are. The understanding of the nature of what you are, without any distortions, without any bias, without any reactions to what you discover you are, is the beginning of austerity. J. Krishnamurti. Is it possible to live without entertainment? Will we become unable to bear the stress of the everyday life? We will be able to live peacefully only if the stresses are not there in our life, and only way we can throw stress out of our life is to face and resolve the problems at every moment, and not carry it forward. Be conscious. Reference 1. http://wikipedia.org/wiki/entertainment2. http://archive/2010/01/19/the-psychology-of-the-entertainment-hour-need-for-entertainment-aspx3 http://krishnamurti.org/krishnamurti-teachings/daily-quote-archive.php. Life, Part 18. Identity. We all want an identity, an image to define us, an image created by us over a period of time. A little bit of childhood image with innocence forms the basis, then the playfulness of teenage, the image of adulthood, which is what you want to be and what others would like to see you as, and not what you actually are. These all form the image far from reality. We want others to see what we want them to see, not what we actually are. This forms the identity. Why do we require this identity? Beyond the basic need for a sense of control, we are deeply driven by our sense of identity, of who we are. I is a capital letter, denoting the importance we place on our sense of individual self, how the identity is formed. Early in life as kid, when we begin to realize that we are separate from our mother, we first begin to create our identity. We identify at this stage with the dolls we play. Later on, when we grow up, we identify ourselves with other objects. It may be house, mobile phone, car, job, or other things. The conflict within us arises when almost all of us want to show that we are perfect people, but almost no one is perfect. The conflicts with others arise when we feel that our identity is being threatened. If we feel that way, then our responses could be very aggressive. Can we live in this world without being identified with something? Let us see what J. Krishnamurti talks about this. Really, can you and I, as individuals, live in this world without being identified with anything? After all, I identify myself with my country, with my religion, with my family, with my name. Because without identification I am nothing. Without a position, without power, without prestige of one kind or another, I feel lost, and so I identify myself with my name, with my family, with my religion. I join some organization, or become a monk. We all know the various types of identification that the mind clings to. But can we live in this world without any identification at all? But inwardly, inside the skin, as it were, we try to identify ourselves with the past, with tradition, with some fanciful romantic image, a symbol much cherished. And surely in this identification there is a sense of security, safety, a sense of being owned, and of possessing. This gives great comfort. One takes comfort, security, in any form of illusion. And man apparently needs many illusions. We want identity, because that gives us a sense of belonging, comfort. But that is not the reality. The image is not the reality. If you are aware of this, then you can live without the identity, psychologically. We will finish with a Zen story. Dreaming. The great Taoist master Chuang-Tzu once dreamt that he was a butterfly fluttering here and there. In the dream he had no awareness of his individuality as a person. He was only a butterfly. Suddenly, he awoke and found himself laying there, a person once again. But then he thought to himself, was I before a man who dreamt about being a butterfly, or am I now a butterfly who dreams about being a man? Reference 1. http://krishnamurti.org/krishnamurti-teachings/view-daily-quotes/2 http://colorado.edu/conflict/peace/problem/tenue.htm3 http://changenment.org/explanation/needs/identity.htm. Life, Part 19. Harmony. To live our life in harmony is to live in a consistent, orderly and pleasing way. This cannot come in by putting together various bits and pieces of our life which are pulling us in different directions and knitting them together. It is to live the life wholly, completely together. In our life we separate ourselves into various roles which are in conflict with each other. Our career life is in conflict with family life, our role of parent in conflict with the role of spouse, the role of public life in conflict with private life. Can we live this life completely, as a whole, without the fragmentation? Yes, it is possible. For that we have to look at everything holistically, and acting on every event holistically. The only way that is possible is not to have images and preconceived ideas. Images of a husband or wife, father or mother, etc. Let us see what J. Krishnamurti talks about harmony. Order implies harmony in daily life. Harmony is not an idea. We are caught in the prison of ideas, and there is no harmony in that. Harmony and clarity imply seeing things holistically, observing life as a total unitary movement, not, I am a businessman at the office, and a different person at home, not, I am an artist, and can do the most absurd and eccentric things, not this breaking up, or fragmenting, of life into various categories, the elite, and the non-elite, the worker, and the non-worker, the intellectual, and the romantic, which is the way we normally live. See how important it is to treat life as a total movement in which everything is included, in which there is no breaking down, as the good, and the bad, and heaven and hell. See holistically so that when you observe your friend, or your wife, or your husband, you see holistically in that relationship. So, harmony comes into being when you have insight into all this. We will end this with his story. There is the story of a young martial arts student, who was under the tutelage of a famous master. One day, the master was watching a practice session in the courtyard. He realized that the presence of the other students was interfering with the young man's attempts to perfect his technique. The master could sense the young man's frustration. He went up to the young man and tapped him on his shoulder. "What's the problem?" he inquired. "I don't know," said the youth, with a strained expression. "No matter how much I try, I am unable to execute the moves properly." Before you can master technique, you must understand harmony. "Come with me, I will explain," replied the master. The teacher and student left the building, and walked some distance into the woods, until they came upon a stream. The master stood silently on the bank for several moments. Then he spoke. "Look at the stream," he said. "There are rocks in its way. Does it slam into them out of frustration? It simply flows over and around them and moves on. Be like the water and you will know what harmony is." The young man took the master's advice to heart. Soon, he was barely noticing the other students around him. Nothing could come in his way of executing the most perfect moves. Reference 1. http://www.buddhagroove.com/2 http://www.krishnamurti.org/krishnamurti-teaching/ Live, Part 21, The Mask. We all know what a mask is. In case it has to be clarified, a mask is an object normally worn on the face, typically for protection, disguise, performance, or entertainment. We all put on the mask and pretend that we are a different person from what we actually are. At the moment, whatever is profitable to us, we put on that mask, and throw that out when it is no longer useful. We then put on a different mask, and deny what we had put earlier. This is an every moment reality for us. In the house, we, as a spouse, parent, we put on one mask. In the job, we are entirely different person, competitive, aggressive, ruthless to succeed. In the general society, we show a different mask, socially conscious of the issues and concerned about them, maybe philanthropic. All these are deception, one unconnected with the other. What is that we actually are behind all these masks? What is the real self? Behind all these masks we wear, we are all normal persons, whether we call ourselves engineers, doctors, leaders, rulers, or scientists. We are all ordinary persons with our worries, fears, jealousy, hate, etc. J. Krishnamurti says, why do we put on masks? Do you know what a mask is? When a human being is capable and efficient in technology, that is a particular mask. He lives in that. He does not want to know what is behind that mask. He may be a first-class engineer, a first-class bureaucrat, and that is a mask. That mask becomes respectability, which the world accepts as a marvelous human being. But remove the mask, then, whether he is a scientist or an astronomer, he is just like everybody else. It is only the vain, proud people who cultivate humility. They put on a mask of humility, but they are not really, in the real sense of that word, humble. We will see the Sufi story of Mojid. It is not just about different roles we play, but about the flow of life. Mojid, the man with the inexplicable life. There was once a man named Mojid. He lived in a town where he had obtained a post as a small official, and it seemed likely that he would end his days as inspector of weights and measures. One day when he was walking through the gardens of an ancient building near his home, Khidr, the mysterious guide of the Sufis, appeared to him, dressed in shimmering green. Khidr said, "Man of bright prospects, leave your work and meet me at the riverside in 3 days' time." Then he disappeared. Mojid went to his superior in trepidation, and said that he had to leave. Everyone in the town soon heard of this, and they said, "Poor Mojid. He has gone mad." But as there were many candidates for his job, they soon forgot him. On the appointed day, Mojid met Khidr, who said to him, "Tear your clothes and throw yourself into the stream. Perhaps someone will save you." Mojid did so, even though he wondered if he were mad. Since he could swim, he did not drown, but drifted a long way, before a fisherman hauled him into his boat, saying, "Foolish man, the current is strong. What are you trying to do?" Mojid said, "I don't really know." "You are mad," said the fisherman, "but I will take you into my reed hut by the river yonder, and we shall see what can be done for you." When he discovered that Mojid was well-spoken, he learned from him how to read and write. In exchange, Mojid was given food, and helped the fisherman with his work. After a few months, Khidr again appeared, this time at the foot of Mojid's bed, and said, "Get up now and leave this fisherman. You will be provided for." Mojid immediately quit the hut, dressed as a fisherman, and wandered about until he came to a highway. As dawn was breaking, he saw a farmer on a donkey on his way to market. "Do you seek work?" asked the farmer, "because I need a man to help me bring back some purchases." Mojid followed him. He worked for the farmer for nearly 2 years, by which time he had learned a great deal about agriculture, but little else. One afternoon when he was baling wool, Khidr appeared to him and said, "Leave that work, walk to the city of Mosul, and use your savings to become a skin merchant." Mojid obeyed. In Mosul he became known as a skin merchant, never seeing Khidr, while he plied his trade for 3 years. He had saved quite a large sum of money, and was thinking of buying a house, when Khidr appeared and said, "Give me your money, walk out of this town as far as the distant Samarkand, and work for a grocer there." Mojid did so. Presently he began to show undoubted signs of illumination. He healed the sick, served his fellow men in the shop during his spare time, and his knowledge of the mysteries became deeper and deeper. Clerics, philosophers, and others visited him, and asked, "Under whom did you study?" "It is difficult to say," said Mojid. His disciples asked, "How did you start your career?" He said, "As a small official." "And you gave it up to devote yourself to self-mortification?" "No, I just gave it up." They did not understand him. People approached him to write the story of his life. "What have you been in your life?" they asked. "I jumped into a river, became a fisherman, then walked out of his reed hut in the middle of the night. After that, I became a farm hand. While I was baling wool, I changed, and went to Mosul, where I became a skin merchant. I saved some money there, but gave it away. Then I walked to Samarkand, where I worked for a grocer, and this is where I am now. But this inexplicable behavior throws no light upon your strange gifts and wonderful examples," said the biographers. "That is so," said Mojid. So the biographers constructed for Mojid a wonderful and exciting story, because all saints must have their story, and the story must be in accordance with the appetite of the listener, not with the realities of life. And nobody is allowed to speak of Khidr directly. That is why the story is not true. It is a representation of a life. This is the real life of one of the greatest Sufis. Reference 1. http://wikipedia.org/wik/mes2 http://www.krishnamurti.org/krishnamurti-teachings/index.php3 http://www.awaresilence.com/ Life, Part 22, Recognition. Our whole life is based on reward and recognition. Do something acceptable to the society, and be recognized or rewarded for that. It starts from our childhood, when you are rewarded with chocolates. In the school it is to be in the top, and be recognized for that. This continues throughout our life, whether we are ordinary citizens, big businessmen, politicians, or religious leaders. Even in religious organizations we have a hierarchy, and we are rewarded, and rise up the hierarchy. So why is this craving for recognition? Why we are not content with what we are? Why do we want name and fame? We all want to be famous. We all follow the famous, try knowing about them, talking about them, and maybe identify ourselves with them. If we don't do this, we feel empty, lonely, and as a nobody. Why is it that we are not content to be ourselves? Why is it that we crave to be recognized? Why is it that we are not content to be ourselves? Are we frightened and ashamed of what we are, that name, position, and acquisition become so all-important? In the excitement of a battle, one does incredible things for which one is honored. One becomes a hero for killing a fellow man. Through privilege, cleverness, or capacity and efficiency, one arrives somewhere near the top, though the top is never the top, for there is always more and more in the intoxication of success. J.K. It is strange how most people want recognition and praise, to be recognized as a great poet, as a philosopher, something that boosts one's ego. It gives great satisfaction, but it has very little meaning. Recognition feeds one's vanity, and perhaps one's pocket, and then what? It sets one apart, and separation breeds its own problems, ever increasing. To be free of both success and failure is the real thing. From the beginning, not to look for a result, to do the thing that one loves, and love has no reward or punishment. J.K. So recognition will not help us in any way spiritually, it will only add to the anxiety and tension, and create vanity in us. We will end this part with the encounter of Bodhidharma with the emperor. Bodhidharma meets the emperor. Bodhidharma was introduced to the emperor of China, who was a Buddhist himself. In his conference with the emperor, Bodhidharma exhibited the sort of sharp, shocking behavior that would become characteristic of Zen Buddhist masters. This meeting is regarded as China's first introduction to Zen Buddhism. The emperor practiced the outward behaviors of Buddhism. He wore Buddhist robes, abstained from eating meat, built many temples, and supported hundreds of monks and nuns. The emperor was proud of his knowledge of Buddhism, and his support of Buddhism, in his kingdom. He asked Bodhidharma, "Since I came to the throne, I have built many temples, published numerous scriptures, and supported countless monks and nuns. How great is the merit in all these?" "No merit to speak of," was the shocking reply of Bodhidharma. The emperor had often heard renowned masters say, "Do good, and you will receive good, do bad, and you will receive bad." The law of cause and effect is unchangeable. Effects follow causes as shadows follow figures. But now, this foreign sage declared that all his efforts had earned no merit at all. The emperor failed to understand that one is not practicing Buddhism if one does good with the desire to gain merit for oneself. It will be more like promoting one's own welfare or hoping for admiration by the public. The emperor asked his next question, "What then is the essence of Buddhism?" Bodhidharma's immediate reply was, "Vast emptiness, and no essence at all." This stunned the emperor. Other masters had explained that the essence was contained in doctrines such as the Four Noble Truths and the law of cause and effect, but this foreign sage of Buddhism had just declared there was no essence at all. Reference 1. Commentaries on Living Series I Chapter 20 to the Self, http www.krishnamurti.org/krishnamurti-teachings 2. Letters to a Young Friend, 23, J. Krishnamurti 3. http monkeytree.org/silkroad/mindbody/emperor.html. Life, Part 23, Society. We human beings are living in this earth for at least 195,000 years, and we have the oldest continuous living society of living beings as Aborigines of Australia. New dating techniques indicate that the fossils are 195,000 years old. The two skulls and some bones were first uncovered on opposite sides of Ethiopia's Omo River in 1967 by a team led by Richard Leakey. The fossils, dubbed Omo-I and Omo-II, Aboriginal Australians are the oldest continuous culture on Earth, confirms a new genetic study. Aboriginal Australians are descendants of the first people to leave Africa up to 75,000 years ago. A genetic study has found, confirming they may have the oldest continuous culture on the planet. But what is a society? How is it defined? According to sociologists, a society is a group of people with common territory, interaction, and culture. Social groups consist of two or more people who interact and identify with one another. An explanation of this is, society is made up of individuals who have agreed to work together for mutual benefit. But no matter the size and no matter the link that binds a society together, be it religious, geographic, professional or economic, society is shaped by the relationships between individuals. The society has undergone a lot of transformation in the last 200,000 years. The society is what we had made of it according to our desires, ambitions, conditioning. The society is not different from us. That is a fact we seem to forget when we talk about society. Society is something that gradually has come into being, to which we have given all our endeavor, all our struggles, all our imprints and tendencies. This is the society, and society is us. It is not two separate entities. JK, we have made up the society, and the society makes us up. That is the irony. Are we just instruments in the hands of the society, carrying out just what the society instructs us, and live the way it tells us? Are you and I as individuals to be used, directed, educated, controlled, shaped to a certain pattern by society, government, or does society, the state, exist for the individual? Is the individual the end of society, or is he merely a puppet to be taught, exploited, butchered, as an instrument of war? That is the problem that is confronting most of us. That is the problem of the world, whether the individual is a mere instrument of society, a plaything of influences, to be molded, or whether society exists for the individual. JK, the society is demanding us to fulfill in all the ways which are called achievements, without which it may be very difficult to live. Moreover, the line between sanity and insanity is so thin that if you do not share the insanity of your neighbors, colleagues, friends, or relatives, then you may be termed as insane. Then how are we to build a good society? Are many of us to renounce the world and live as monks so that the society is good? We all know that this is not possible. We are saying a good society can come into being immediately, not something to be achieved in the future. That good society can come into being only when we think together, which means no division between you and another. Then our whole conduct changes. JK, when the division in our mind ceases, then only we will have no division among us. The only way is to understand what we are nothing but the consciousness. We will end this part with the Mullah story. People's Talk. Mullah Nasruddin and his son were riding the donkey to the town market. A group of people passed. Mullah heard them whisper, "What times are these? Look at those two, have they no mercy on the poor animal?" Nasruddin, hearing this, tells his son to get off and continue the journey on foot. Another group of people passing by and seeing this comment, "What times are these? Look at this man. His poor son with his frail body has to walk, while he at his best age is riding the donkey." Hearing this, Nasruddin tells his son to ride the donkey, and he himself gets off to walk the rest of the way. A third group of people seeing this remark, "What times are these? This young man is riding the donkey, while his sickly old father has to walk." Hearing this, Nasruddin tells his son to get off the animal, and they both walk with the donkey trailing behind. Another group passing by point to them, laughing, "Look at these idiots. They have a donkey and they are walking all the way to the market." Reference 1. http://what-is-society.htm2 http://sparknotes.com/sociology/society-and-culture/section1.rhtml3 http://news/02,005/02/0216_050-16-omo.html4 http://wiki.org/wik/sufism/Nasruddin #Thebik5 http://www.krishnamurti.org/krishnamurti-teachings/6 http://aboriginal-australians-the-oldest-culture-on-earth.htm Life, Part 24. Relationship. Interpersonal. What is a relationship? It is interaction between people over a period of time. This can be either positive or negative. A complex way of defining this is, social relationship is characterized by mutual orientation of each to others. Its content may be of the most varied nature, connivity, hostility, sexual attraction, friendship, loyalty, or economic exchange. With a relationship, a person constructs a sense of identity in relation to family, people, cultural practices, gender, social class, social/political systems, sexuality, geographic location, and physical and mental abilities. In a successful relationship, individuals share common goals and objectives, respect each other's views and opinions. A sense of trust is important. Individuals are attached to each other. Transparency plays a pivotal role in interpersonal relationship. It is important for an individual to be honest and transparent. When we are deprived of relationship, we begin to self-destruct through depression, self-doubts, and many more problems. In a relationship there are 1. How we view the relationship. 2. How the other person views the relationship. 3. What we want in the relationship. 4. What the other person wants in the relationship. The phases of relationship are contact, involvement, and intimacy. Over a period of time it may deteriorate and finally dissolve if it is not maintained. But we cannot shrink away from relationship. Human beings cannot live in isolation, because life is relationship, and is relationship in action. Our problem is understanding of relationship. If we understand relationship, then we can meet life fully. Relationship, surely, is the mirror in which you discover yourself. Without relationship you are not. To be is to be related. To be related is existence. You exist only in relationship, otherwise you do not exist. Existence has no meaning. It is not because you think you are that you come into existence. You exist because you are related, and it is the lack of understanding of relationship that causes conflict. We use relationship merely as a means of furthering achievement, furthering transformation, furthering becoming. But relationship is a means of self-discovery. To understand myself, I must understand relationship. Relationship is a mirror in which I can see myself. JK, we use relationship merely to satisfy us, fulfill our desires, wants, and satisfy our egos. If it does not bring satisfaction, then we break that relationship. Since we are using relationship to fulfill our ends in our relationships, there is conflict, pain, misery, and there is also pleasure. Can our relationship be without conflicts? Yes, it is possible if we understand first about ourselves, what we are, and also we have to be sensitive to others. And looking at others through the images and memories built of them is the root of the problem. If we are not resolving this, then wherever we go, then we will meet with the same problem. We will end this with a Zen story which tells us exactly that. Zen story: moving to a new city. There was a person coming to a new village, relocating, and he was wondering if he would like it there. So he went to the Zen master and asked, "Do you think I will like it in this village? Are the people nice?" The master asked back, "How were the people on the town where you come from?" "They were nasty and greedy. They were angry and lived for cheating and stealing," said the newcomer. "Those are exactly the type of people we have in this village," said the master. Reference 1. https://wikipedia.org/wiki/social relation 2. http://www.whh.edu.pl/other/materially/3. http://www.managementstodayguide.com/interpersonal-relationship.htm4. http://best-comp2110.blogsspot.com/03/chapter-9-interpersonal-relationship.html5. http://2013/8-and-master-stories-that-illustrate-important-truths/6. http://www.krishnamurti.org/krishnamurti-teaching/. Life, Part 25, Reasoning. Reasoning is an important tool in our life. We use it to arrive at important decisions and conclusions in our life. We should be going through these topics with earnestness. By simply refusing to think about difficult topics, we may drift through life like robots, living on borrowed opinions and decisions. In this part we will see basics of the reasoning process, how it is used in our daily life, and what value it has in our inner life. Definition of reasoning is: reason is the capacity for consciously making sense of things, applying logic for establishing and verifying facts, and changing or justifying practices, institutions, and beliefs based on new or existing information. Good reasoning. Good reasoning is based on evidence, rather than on wishful thinking, or rash appeals to emotion. The context or situation in which we think about things strongly influences the ways in which we think about them. Our reasoning is sometimes faulty, because we underestimate the importance of context. We use reasoning to predict what will happen. But reasoning, like so much else, involves trial and error, and unless you know what the errors are, you won't do any better the next time around. Bad reasoning, rationalization, is on what we would like to be true, and not based on as true. Quick fix. We want a fast and easy solution to a complex problem. The human tendency to wishful thinking is one reason why claims by those who offer a quick fix are often accepted, even when there is little evidence in their favor. Biases, fallacies are other things which lead to faulty reasoning. Dogmatist is not open-minded, he wouldn't let anything count as evidence against his beliefs. Relativism, live and let live. We have our views, other groups have theirs. Relativism may sound like a nice, tolerant view, but it really isn't. Worse, the consistent relativist must grant that intolerant societies, like Nazi Germany, are no more wrong about things than any other society. Habits. Many of our actions result from habit, and our habits of relying on past views and acting without really thinking are chief causes of defective reasoning. Now what we have seen above is about reasoning, and how it applies to our outer life, but when we come the inner life, or the spiritual side, there is limitations. Let us see what J. Krishnamurti tells about limitations of reasoning. All reasoning has its own conditioning. One must reason, one must think clearly, definitely, positively. But thinking, however wide, however deep, however expansive, is still limited. All thinking begins with knowledge, or the accumulation of knowledge. It arises from the background of knowledge, and knowledge, surely, is very limited. But do not be swept away by any reasoning, because today you may have a good reason for not killing and tomorrow you may have a much stronger reason for killing. To me there is only perception, which is to see something as false or true immediately. This immediate perception of what is false and what is true is the essential factor, not the intellect, with its reasoning based upon its cunning, its knowledge, its commitments. Reasoning is a must for our day-to-day living, but for the spiritual world it has very limited use. In reasoning we have limited resources, as available facts, and mostly our thinking is clouded by habits, bias, rationalization, our personal gain, in not looking at the facts, etc. A Sufi story. There is a story told about Moses, who was passing with Khidr through a country. Khidr was the murshid of Moses when Moses was being prepared for prophetship. Moses's first lesson of discipline was to keep quiet under all circumstances. While they were walking through the beauty of nature, both teacher and pupil were quiet. The teacher was exalted in seeing the beauty of nature, and the pupil also felt it. So they arrived on the bank of a fiver, where Moses saw a little child drowning, and the mother crying aloud, for she could not help. Here Moses could not keep his lips closed. He had to break that discipline, and say, "Master, save him. The child is drowning." Khidr said, "Quiet," and Moses was quiet. But the heart of Moses was restless. He did not know what to think. Can the master be so thoughtless, so inconsiderate, so cruel, or is the master powerless? He could not understand which was which. He did not dare to think such a thought, and yet it made him feel very uncomfortable. As they went further they saw a boat sinking. Moses said, "Master, that boat is sinking, it is going down." The master again ordered him to be quiet, so then Moses was quiet, but he was still more uncomfortable. When they arrived home he said, "Master, I thought that you would have saved that little innocent child from drowning, and that you would have saved the boat which was going down in the water, but you did nothing. I cannot understand, but I should like to have an explanation." The master said, "What you saw, I also saw. We both saw. So there was no use in your telling me, because I saw. You did not need to tell me what was happening, for I knew. If I had thought that it was better to interfere, I could have done it. Why did you take the trouble to tell me and spoil your vow of silence?" He continued, "The child who was drowning was meant to bring about the conflict between two nations, and thousands of lives were going to be destroyed in that conflict. When he was drowned, this averted the other danger which was to come." Moses looked at him with great surprise. Then Khidr said, "The boat that was sinking was the boat of pirates. It was sailing in order to wreck a large ship full of pilgrims, and then to take what was left in the ship, and bring it home. Do you think that you and I can be judge of it? The judge is behind. He knows what he is doing, he knows his work. When you were told to be quiet, your work was to keep your lips closed, and to see everything, as I was doing, silently, in reverence." Reference 1. https://wikipedia.org/wiki/reason2 http://wikipedia.org/wiki/verbal-reasoning3 Critical Reasoning, a User's Manual by Chris Sawyer 4 http://www.krishnamurti.org/krishnamurti-teachings/index.php 5 http://www.hazrat-inayat-khan.org/ Life, Part 26, Change. Change is the process of becoming different. Change or anicca or impermanences is one of the three marks of existence for Buddhists. Change in an external world or in an organization is brought about by a systematic management process. Briefly, we will see what an organizational change management process is. The change management process is the sequence of steps or activities to be followed to apply change management to a project or change. Most change management processes contain the following three phases. Phase 1, preparing for change, preparation, assessment, and strategy development. Phase 2, managing change, detailed planning, and change management implementation. Phase 3, reinforcing change, data gathering, corrective action, and recognition. The detailed steps are diagnosis, concept building, psychosocial change, learning, information, implementation, and management of all change processes. But in a spiritual world, can a change be brought in an organized manner? We will see different views of the change in the spiritual world. The Buddhists consider the world as anicca, or impermanent. Anicca is a Pali word composed with two combined words. Nicca implies the idea of permanence, of continuity. Anicca means the absence of continuity, permanence. A phenomenon manifests, it had not manifested yet, and then it is here before us. We can ascertain that it just appeared. Therefore a change took place when a phenomenon appears. Then, this phenomenon will have a limited duration, and it will inevitably disappear. As soon as it appears, a natural law compels it to ultimately vanish. This is valid for all of them, without exception. Anicca is a characteristic common to all phenomena, ascribable to all realities, which pertain to our conscious and tangible experiences. Thus, our consciousness undergoes ceaseless mutations, and all our experiences, even in the occurrences of meditative, transcendental, or else mystical attainments, are transitory by nature. To bring about any change, the individual has to change. Any change should be to the inner nature, otherwise it would merely be modified continuity. I know that outward circumstances change. We marry, divorce, have children, there is death, a better job, the pressure of new inventions, and so on. Not a change. That is a mere repetition, or a modified continuity. A change is possible only from the known to the unknown, not from the known to the known. Do please think this over with me. In the change from the known to the known, there is authority, there is hierarchical outlook of life. You know, I do not know. Therefore, I worship you, I create a system. I go after a guru, I follow you, because you are giving me what I want to know. You are giving me a certainty of conduct that will produce the result, the success, and the result. Success is the known. I know what it is to be successful. That is what I want. So we proceed from the known to the known, in which authority must exist, the authority of sanction, the authority of the leader, the guru, the hierarchy, the one who knows, and the other who does not know, and the one who knows must guarantee me the success in my endeavor, in change, so that I will be happy. I will have what I want. Is that not the motive for most of us to change? Do please observe your own thinking, and you will see the ways of your own life and conduct. When you look at it, is that change? Change, revolution, is something from the known to the unknown, in which there is no authority, in which there may be total failure. But if you are assured that you will achieve, you will succeed, you will be happy, you will have everlasting life, then there is no problem. Then you pursue the well-known course of action, which is yourself being always at the center of things. J.K. A deliberate change, a change that is compulsory, is no change at all. Because already we define the goal, and the path leading to the goal, whereas life is unknown and dynamic. Sufi story. Changing the World. Bayazid, a Sufi mystic, has written in his autobiography, "When I was young I thought, and I said to God, and in all my prayers this was the base, give me energy so that I can change the whole world. Everybody looked wrong to me. I was a revolutionary and I wanted to change the face of the earth. When I became a little more mature I started praying, this seems to be too much. Life is going out of my hands, almost half of my life is gone, and I have not changed a single person, and the whole world is too much. So I said to God, my family will be enough. Let me change my family. And when I became old," says Bayazid, "I realized that even the family is too much, and who am I to change them? Then I realized that if I can change myself, that will be enough. More than enough. I prayed to God, now I have come to the right point. At least allow me to do this, I would like to change myself." God replied, "Now there is no time left. This you should have asked in the beginning. Then there was a possibility." Reference 1. http://wikipedia.org/wiki/change2. http://hamadana.org/tama/3 characteristics/anika.htm3. http://www.change-management.com/tutorial-change-process-detailed.htm4. http://www.oshoworld.com/5